Chapter 6140 Spiritual and Demonic Cultivation. Great Elder, don't worry. I will definitely cultivate diligently and try my best to draw qi into my body as soon as possible. In the future, I will add glory to our Tian family. He Xinjiu said confidently. Great Elder nodded. If she really cultivated spiritual and demonic cultivation together, she would have to be heavily groomed in the future. Tian Rulu pursed her lips in her heart. She was extremely sure that Yun Chuzhou was spouting nonsense. However, it didn't matter. It was just 10 days. She could afford to wait. He Xinjiu heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that the Great Elder had turned around to give pointers to the other Tian family juniors. She had been really unlucky recently, and these unlucky things happened one after another. Although she could hide for a while, she could not hide forever. She had not sensed the demonic element at all. Not to mention 10 days, even if it was 10 years, she would not be able to draw qi into her body. She was really worried to death. This fellow pretended to meditate and cultivate every day. In fact, every day, he was thinking of a problem. How could he deceive the Great Elder? Seeing that 10 days were almost up, Yun Chuzhou finally thought of a solution that was not a solution. When the others were not paying attention, she released Sha Mo and let Sha Mo slap the doll in front of her. After keeping Sha Mo away, she shouted happily, Great Elder, come and see. I have finally absorbed qi into my body. First Elder immediately ran over, and even Second Elder and Third Elder ran over as well. First Elder stared at the faint traces on the mannequin, and his old face smiled like a flower. This was indeed the trace left behind by the demonic qi attack. Who would have thought that this little trash was actually a genius who cultivated both spirit and devil? A peerless genius. Ha ha ha. Their heavenly devil clan was indeed noble and extraordinary. They had actually produced such a peerless genius. Tian Rulu almost gritted her teeth. It was impossible. How could this trash be a genius who cultivated both spirit and devil? She must have cheated. Sister Jiu, congratulations. However, we didn't see how you attacked just now. Why don't you give it another try? The Great Elder echoed from the side, yes. Give it another try. Let's have a look. He Xinjiu, First Elder, I have just absorbed qi into my body. The demonic qi in my body is limited. The previous palm strike has used up all the demonic qi. I will demonstrate it to you after a few days of cultivation. What do you think? Yun Chuzhou said with some difficulty. Yes, what you said makes sense. I won't accumulate too much demonic qi after I absorb qi into my body. It won't be too late to talk about it in a few days, First Elder said with a smile. He found He Xinjiu very pleasing to the eye. What a joke. She was a genius. Although her cultivation was very weak now, there was a high chance that she would be qualified to cultivate the internal 8 volumes. By then, she would soar to the sky. Tian Rulu didn't expect the Great Elder to be convinced so easily. Her eyes flickered as she said, Great Elder, Sister Jiu has just absorbed qi into her body. She doesn't know anything. Why don't you check if there's anything wrong with her meridians? He Xinjiu wished that she could strangle Tian Ruhua to death. This little bitch was really hateful. If she still refused, it would inevitably arouse the suspicion of the Grand Elder. However, if she didn't refuse, how could she get any devil qi from her meridians? At this moment, the Gowei Batsao in her dantian shook its leaves. Yun Chujia's heart skipped a beat. Do you have a way to disguise my meridians? Gowei Batsao immediately waved its leaves proudly. This was the first time Yun Chuzhou had seen Gowei Batsao so cute. She immediately said to the Great Elder, then he'll have to trouble the Great Elder. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6141 Tian Rulu did not expect Yun Chuzhou to agree. She was shocked and doubtful. Could it be that this good-for-nothing could cultivate both spirit and devil at the same time? The Great Elder placed his hand on Yunchujia's pulse. After a while, he nodded in satisfaction. Although the devil chi in the meridians is a little thin, it will definitely improve by leaps and bounds in time. Very good, very good. Yunchujia's heart was finally relieved. She had to admit that although the Gowei Batsao was sometimes very troublesome, it was still useful. The Gowei Batsao shook its leaves proudly. It was not boasting, but if it was not a baby now, the God clan and the demon clan would be nothing in front of it. Its means of disguising Yunchujia's meridians were also very simple. These days, Yunchujio fed it some medicinal herbs and pills from the demon continent. It transferred the devil chi into Yunchujia's meridians and successfully fooled the Great Elder. As Hei Shinjio was recognized as a genius who cultivated both spiritual and devil techniques, her status and treatment immediately changed dramatically. The three Grand Elders looked at her with a kind and warm gaze. Hei Shinjio, on the other hand, felt very bitter in her heart. How kind and warm she was now, how cruel and cold she would be when she was exposed in the future. However, with the title of dual cultivation of spiritual and devil, even if she could not pass the second round of selection, she could still keep her life. Thinking about it, this guy felt that the current situation was not bad. He should take one step at a time. Compared to Hei Xinjia's good mood, Tian Ruli's intestines were green with regret. She originally wanted to cripple Yunchujia's cultivation, but she did not expect this trash to be a dual cultivator of both spirit and devil. It was like trying to steal a chicken, only to end up losing rice instead. However, she still felt that there must be something wrong with Yunchujia's so-called dual cultivation of spirit and devil. Therefore, after a few days, she instigated the Great Elder to let Yunchujio attack the mannequin in person. Hei Shinjio was already prepared. She said that her cultivation was too fast and the demonic chi in her body was slightly chaotic, so she could not use the demonic chi for the time being. The Great Elder checked her pulse and indeed found that the demonic chi in Yunchujia's body was chaotic. He immediately gave her pills and comforted her. He completely forgot about the matter of attacking the mannequin. Tian Rulu almost died from anger. This old fool. But she could do nothing but stare helplessly. A month passed in the blink of an eye. It was time for the second round of selection. During this period of time, Tian Shefeng had been busy with official business. So when he saw the Great Elder asking about Yunchujia's well-being like a kind mother, he almost fell to the ground. Was he seeing things? Didn't the Great Elder abhor that little trash? Why did he seem to think highly of her now? What had happened in the past month? When the other members of the Tian family saw this scene, they were also dumbfounded, especially old lady Tian, whose eyes almost popped out. Tian Shefeng was about to ask, but the Great Elder said with a smile, "A joyous event has happened in our Tian family. Little girl Ru Hua is actually a rare spiritual devil cultivator. From now on, I will personally teach little girl Ru Hua. None of you are allowed to humiliate her. Otherwise, I will not let her off easily." The crowd immediately exploded. What? Tian Ruhua was a spiritual demon cultivator. How was that possible? Could it be that the Great Elder had made a mistake? However, the Great Elder did not look like he was joking. Tian Ruhua, the good-for-nothing, had finally turned her luck around and become a phoenix. Hei Shinjio, on the other hand, felt extremely bitter in her heart. The Great Elder had such a big mouth, why did he have to shout out the matter and even personally teach her? Let her off. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6142, Second Round of Selection. Tian Rulu bit her lip, almost unable to suppress the jealousy and hatred in her heart. But it didn't matter. That trash's demonic chi was in disorder, so it was impossible for her to pass the second round of selection. As long as she was qualified to cultivate the outer 8 chapters, Tian Ruhua, that trash, still couldn't compare to her. If she was lucky, she might even be qualified to cultivate the inner 8 chapters. If that was the case, this trash couldn't be compared to her anymore. Moreover, even if this good-for-nothing had really gained enlightenment, she still had countless ways to kill her. With this thought, Tian Rulu calmed down and focused her attention on the statue that appeared again in the ancestral hall. The second round of the selection was different from the first round, which was arranged according to age. This time, it was a lottery. Yun Chuzhou looked at number 19 in her hand, and her heart did not waver. Anyway, she had temporarily saved her life. When the time came, she could just casually strike out with her palm. The devil chi in her meridians was in disorder. With the protection of the first elder, no one could say anything. Tian Rushan was the first to walk into the ancestral hall. He calmed his chi and focused his mind, then struck out with all his strength at the statue. The devil chi contained in the palm wind did not have any reaction when it hit the statue. It was like a clay ox entering the sea. Tian Rushan's face was immediately filled with disappointment, and the third elder's face was not too good either. Since the three of them were teaching these juniors separately, they also had a bit of competitive spirit. They did not expect that Tian Rushan, who he favored the most, would fail. The next few people who were going to carry out the selection also failed, and it was Tian Ruliang's turn. Tian Ruliang took a deep breath and slapped the statue with all his strength. The demonic chi in the palm wind hit the statue, and the illusory image of the supreme demonic scripture gradually appeared above the statue, and it slowly opened. On one half of the page, blurry words appeared, emitting a faint black light. Tian Ruliang was ecstatic in his heart. It was a success. He had succeeded. He had obtained the qualifications to cultivate the outer 8 volumes. From now on, his life would be different. After the phantom disappeared, Tian Ruliang walked out of the ancestral hall in high spirits. Second elder nodded repeatedly, "You can cultivate with me from now on." This had always been the practice of the Tian family. The previous group teaching was also for this purpose. Tian Ruliang couldn't help but be overjoyed. After bowing, he retreated to the side. Next was Tian Rulu's turn. Tian Rulu walked into the ancestral hall somewhat nervously. She bit her lip, took a deep breath, and waved her palm at the statue. The shadow of the supreme demonic scripture gradually appeared above the statue, and it slowly opened. Blurry words appeared on half of the page, emitting a faint black light. Although Tian Rulu was a little disappointed that she did not obtain the qualifications to cultivate the inner 8 chapters, it was still a good thing that she was able to obtain the qualifications to cultivate the outer 8 chapters. Hei Xinjia's mouth twitched when she saw this. This supreme demonic codex was most likely blind. It actually allowed Tian Rulu, this little bitch, to obtain the qualifications to cultivate the outer 8 chapters. Only Tian Ruji, who was taught by third elder, obtained the qualifications to cultivate the outer 8 chapters. The third elder's expression became better. No matter what, he was now tied with the other 2 grand elders. The next few people failed. Only one person was left. It was Hei Xinjiu, who was doted on by thousands of people. Yun Chuzhou saw the great elder's loving and expectant eyes. She had goosebumps all over and walked into the ancestral hall. She had already thought it through. In a while, she would use the demonic energy disorder as an excuse to give up on the selection so that this broken statue would not be cheated again. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6143. After Hei Xinjiu entered the ancestral hall, she began to pretend to mobilize the devil chi in her body. After a moment, she turned to the great elder with a troubled face and said, "Great elder, the devil chi in my body is still in disorder. Although I am not satisfied, I can only give up the selection." The great elder was disappointed. He had hoped that Yun Chuzhou would be qualified to cultivate the outer 8 chapters, or even the inner 8 chapters, more than the other 2 elders. Who would have thought that she would give up now? The great elder thought for a moment and said, "Ruhua girl, even if you can't use your full strength due to the disorder of your devil chi, you might as well give it a try." What if you succeed? After all, everyone only has one chance to participate in the selection. It's a pity to give it up just like that. Yun Chujo nodded. Alright, I'll try my best. After saying that, the guy pretended to mobilize the devil chi that did not exist and slapped the statue. Crack. Crack. The cracks on the statue began to spread again. Hey Shinjo, fraud. It was definitely fraud. She was just pretending and did not even dare to use her spiritual power. How could she be blamed for this? The first elder and the others were also dumbfounded. What was going on? Why did the statue of the Supreme Demonic Code crack again? Could it be that Tian Ruhua's devil chi was so strong that even the Supreme Demonic Code could not withstand it? How could this be possible? A hint of viciousness flashed across Tian Ruhua's eyes as she said in a low voice, seemingly unintentionally, previously, Ninth Sister's blood had already caused the statue to crack, and now the demonic chi is like this. Could it be because she's a mixed demon? Old Madame Tian immediately echoed, what little girl Rulu said makes sense. It must be that the Supreme Demonic Canon dislikes her bloodline to be impure, and that's why it's enraged. When the two of them said this, the others also echoed. It's really possible that this is the case. How can a mixed devil have the qualifications to cultivate the Supreme Demonic Canon? Exactly. If you think about it carefully, she's not even a proper member of the Tian family. She shouldn't have been allowed to participate in the selection at all. Previously, the Great Elder said that she cultivates both spirit and devil. I don't think it's of much use. Her aptitude is really that good, and she wouldn't have been useless for so long. Just as everyone was discussing, the sound of crashing could be heard. The statue of the Supreme Demonic Canon had completely shattered. This time, the members of the Tian family exploded. Previously, when the statue had cracks, they could still tolerate it, but now, they could no longer tolerate it. Now that the statue had shattered, how could they carry out the selection of the Supreme Demonic Canon in the future? Immediately, someone shouted angrily, Tian Ruhua is a sinner of our Tian family, she deserves to die. Yes, kill her. Maybe if we kill her, the statue will be restored to its original state. The first elder was also dumbfounded. He had never expected such an outcome. If he had known this would happen, he would not have let her try. The expressions of the second elder and the third elder were very unsightly. Big brother, even if this Tian Ruhua has the physique of a cultivator who cultivates both spirit and devil, she can only die to atone for such a big mistake. Otherwise, we won't be able to answer to our clansmen. Moreover, only by killing her can we appease the anger of the Supreme Devil Code. The Great Elder gritted his teeth. At this point, he could only kill Tian Ruhua. Otherwise, his position as the Great Elder would be hard to maintain. He strode towards the ancestral hall, preparing to bring Yun Chujo out and kill her to appease the anger of the crowd. Hei Shinjo felt miserable in her heart. What did she do wrong? Was she going to be scammed by this damned, Supreme Demonic Code? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6144 was an unbelievable scene. Yun Chujo saw that the Great Elder was getting closer and closer to her. She gritted her teeth. Now, the lies of the spiritual and demonic cultivation could not save her. She could only hide in the great void mystic realm. However, before that, she had to vent her anger. She kicked the pile of fragments of the Supreme Demonic Code. Damn it, she was asking you to cheat. I'll make you hurt me. I'll kick you to death. Just as he was about to hide in the great void mystic realm, the image of the Supreme Demonic Code gradually appeared where the statue was and slowly opened. Blurry words appeared on half of the page, emitting a faint black light. Yun Chujo, the first elder, everyone. Following that, something even more unbelievable happened. The fragments started to gather at a speed visible to the naked eye and eventually turned into a statue again. It looked exactly the same as before, even the cracks on it were gone. It was as if everything before was just an illusion. However, the illusory image above the statue still existed. The great elder had already raised one of his feet and was about to enter the ancestral hall. When he saw the strange scene before him, he quickly retracted his foot. Previously, he thought that the statue had broken and the selection had ended. That was why he wanted to come in and capture the person. However, it did not seem to be the case now. Naturally, he did not dare to enter the ancestral hall and interrupt the selection. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. So this broken statue needed a kick. If she had known earlier, she would have kicked it a few times. The guy adjusted his facial expression and turned his head to the Great Elder in surprise. Great Elder, did I get the qualification to cultivate the 8 chapters? The Great Elder nodded stiffly. No matter what the process was, there was no objection to the result. Therefore, Hei Shinjio left the ancestral hall in high spirits and stood beside Tian Rulu. At this point, the selection of the Supreme Demonic Codex had ended. A total of 4 people had obtained the qualifications to cultivate the other 8 chapters of the Supreme Demonic Codex. They were Tian Rulu, Tian Ruhua, Tian Ruyang, who was in charge of teaching by the first elder, Tian Ruhua, and Tian Ruji, who was in charge of teaching by the second elder. The 3 people entered the ancestral hall and carefully examined the statue of the Supreme Demonic Codex. They did not find anything unusual. The 3 of them, together with Tian Shefeng, chanted the secret language together. The statue disappeared in front of everyone. The Grand Elder said to Tian Rulu and the other 3, tomorrow at midnight, all of you will gather in the underground cultivation room on time. After the Grand Elder finished speaking, he dismissed everyone. After everyone left, the 3 Grand Elders and Tian Shefeng stared at each other. Even though the statue had returned to its original state, the unbelievable scene from before still left them puzzled. In the end, the Grand Elder said, since Ruhua girl has been qualified to cultivate the outer 8 volumes, and she is also a cultivator of both spiritual and demonic arts, let's wait and see. In any case, she has been right under our noses all the time. Even if something is wrong, she won't be able to stir up any trouble. Tian Shefeng looked at the few spirit tablets that had been burnt in the ancestral hall and felt that the Grand Elder's words were not very credible. He always felt that since Ruhua girl's return this time, there had been a lot of trouble. Was she really unable to stir up any trouble? On the other side, Hei Shinjio happily walked towards her courtyard. No matter what, she could be considered to have saved her little life for the time being. Moreover, she had obtained the qualifications to cultivate the outer 8 volumes. This was really something to be congratulated on. However, she quickly thought of a crucial problem. She could not cultivate demonic chi at all. Even if she obtained the qualifications to cultivate the outer 8 volumes, what use was it? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 6145, Xiao Hei's book. Sha Mo, who was inside the spiritual beast pouch, said happily, little girl, I didn't expect you to be so capable. You actually obtained the qualifications to cultivate the other 8 chapters. Although you can't cultivate demonic chi, I can. When the time comes, tell me the cultivation technique. After I become stronger, I will also help you find Shui Wuji and your lover, Di Baiming. Yun Chujio, hee. It would be impossible for her to believe him. After this old fool became stronger, the first thing he would do would probably be to think of a way to break the demonic god contract with her. Then, he would kill her and even help her find someone. It was impossible. Sha Mo was not discouraged. After all, there was still a long way to go. He did not believe that he would not be able to convince this wretched girl. When Yun Chujio returned to her courtyard, Qing Mama, Chuyue, and Dong Shui were all waiting for her at the door with excited expressions. They were now in the same boat. Naturally, they hoped that Yun Chujio would become better and better. Only when their master became successful would they be able to follow him. At least they did not have to worry about old lady Tian and Tian Rulu taking revenge on them. Congratulations, Miss Jo. The three of them sincerely congratulated her. Yun Chujo put her hands behind her back and nodded proudly. It was rare for her to generously reward the three of them with some magic crystals, and then she returned to her own room. After all this, it was already evening. This guy had finished his dinner and sat cross-legged on the bed, trying to cultivate devil chi again. However, it was already midnight, and he still could not feel any devil element. Sha Mo said slyly, "Little girl, don't waste your energy. You are not the material to cultivate devil chi. Why don't you try to cripple your spiritual power cultivation? Get lost." Yun Chujo said in a bad mood. Of course, she understood what Sha Mo was planning. If her spiritual power cultivation was crippled, he might be able to break the devil god's contract. Yun Chujo couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with Sha Mo anymore, so she simply cut off the spiritual sense connection with him. Forget it, I'll sleep first. I still have to get up early tomorrow morning. Yun Chujo was very tired from worrying all day. She lay on the bed for a while and fell asleep. The moonlight shone through the window and into the room. Yun Chuji's boots by the bed actually moved strangely. A moment later, a book came out from under the boots. It was a pitch-black book that was only the size of a thumb. The book floated up and emitted a strange black light that enveloped Yun Chujo. Several wisps of red mist suddenly drifted out from between Yun Chuji's brows, and the Xiao Hei book fell to the ground with a thud. After a while, it crawled back under its boots with great difficulty. The red mist also immediately shrank back into Yun Chuji's forehead, as if nothing had happened. But Face and the others had lost contact with Yun Chuji's spiritual sense in a split second, so they naturally did not know what had happened. Only the Gowei Batsao in its dantian shook its leaves, as if everything was under its control. However, it did not intend to tell Hei Shinjo about this. It did not lack food now, so it would keep this news for a better meal in the future. Early the next morning, Qing Mama knocked on the door to wake Yun Chujo up. Although Yun Chujo was very unhappy, she still suppressed her anger and washed up to eat breakfast with a cold face. Qing Mama and the other two were so scared that they did not dare to breathe. After these days, they had long been tamed by Hei Shinjo and did not even dare to say no. After Yun Chujo finished her meal, she went to the underground cultivation room. Chapter 6146 Demonic Codex imparted. Yun Chujo arrived not too early. When she arrived, Tian Rulu, Tian Ruyang, and Tian Ruji had already arrived. Yun Chujo obediently greeted the three of them, and the three of them nodded. Tian Rulu even pretended to be concerned about her. Soon, the three elders arrived. The great elder glanced at the four of them and said, "Since you have already obtained the qualifications to cultivate the outer 8 chapters, there are some secrets that you should know." When Tian Rulu and the other three heard this, they immediately straightened their backs and listened attentively. Everyone knows that our Sky Demon clan's most profound cultivation technique is the Supreme Demonic Canon, but no one knows how the Supreme Demonic Canon is cultivated and passed down. Among them, the Supreme Demonic Canon's introductory martial arts can be practiced by anyone, even if they are not members of the Tian clan. However, apart from that, only members of the Tian family could practice the other 8 chapters and the inner 8 chapters. Once the others practiced them, their meridians would be reversed, and they would vomit blood and die. Not only that, neither the outer 8 chapters nor the inner 8 chapters could be taught by words. They could only be taught by the spiritual sense of the Supreme Demonic Canon, and it was one-on-one. As the Supreme Demonic Canon is broad and profound, so far, everyone has received different spiritual sense teaching, so we can only give you limited help. You still need to rely on your own comprehension ability. Yun Chujo, Sha Mo, the two of them cursed in unison with their spiritual perception. Fuck, what a waste of effort. Only members of the Tian family could practice it. They were not members of the Tian family, so it would be useless even if they learned it. Moreover, they could not teach this damn thing to others. It was really useless. Compared to Hei Xinjia's internal criticism, Tian Rulu and the other two were full of excitement. The more rules there were, the more powerful the Supreme Devil Code was, and the more different they were. The Great Elder paused for a moment and said, "Follow me and receive the spiritual sense of the Supreme Devil Code." Yun Chujiu was confused. What did he mean by receiving the spiritual sense of the Supreme Devil Code? Was he going to the ancestral hall to ask the broken statue to teach them? Yun Chujiu and the other three followed the three elders to the end of the underground cultivation room. They didn't know how the three elders operated it, but the original stone wall disappeared. What appeared in front of them was a transparent enchantment. There was a stone platform in the enchantment, and a black book was placed on it. On the cover of the book were the words, "Supreme Demonic Canon." It seemed that this was the real, Supreme Demonic Canon. The four of you will draw lots to receive the teachings of the demonic book. As for what you will receive, that will depend on your own luck. After the Great Elder finished speaking, he let Yun Chujiu and the other three draw lots. Yun Chujiu drew the last place again, but it didn't matter to her. After all, even if she received the teachings, she wouldn't be able to cultivate. Tian Rulu drew the first place and immediately entered the enchantment excitedly. She kneeled in front of the stone platform according to the Great Elder and said piously, "Tian Rulu, the 30th generation disciple of the Tian family, kneels and asks the Supreme Demonic Book to teach her the cultivation method." As soon as she finished her words, the Supreme Demonic Book on the stone platform emitted a black light, and a black symbol rushed to Tian Rulu's forehead. A moment later, the light disappeared, and Tian Rulu stood up happily and walked out. The Great Elder asked with a smile, "Which aspect did you receive the teachings on?" Tian Rulu couldn't hide her joy and said, "It's a technique that can increase attack power." The Great Elder nodded with satisfaction and signaled Tian Ruyang to enter the enchantment. Chapter 6147, Get Lost. Following that, Tian Ruyang and Tian Ruji were successfully imparted with the demonic book. Moreover, they were all cultivation techniques that could increase their attack power. The three Great Elders were very satisfied. Among the cultivation techniques imparted by the Supreme Demonic Book, the most useful one was the cultivation technique that could increase their attack power. Next was Yun Chujiu's turn. Yun Chujiu walked into the enchantment unhurriedly and then walked to the front of the stone platform. After kneeling down, she said loudly according to what Tian Rulu and the others had said, "Tian Ruhua, the current 30th generation disciple of the Tian family, has knelt down and asked the Supreme Demonic Book to teach her the cultivation method." The Supreme Demonic Book on the stone platform emitted a black light, and then a huge character floated out, "Scram." Yun Chujiu, the Great Elder and the others, after a dead silence, Yun Chujiu laughed dryly. "Demonic Book, now is not the time to joke. Hurry up and teach me the cultivation technique." As Yun Chujiu said this, she secretly took out a large kitchen knife from her storage ring and said in a low voice, "Damn it, if you continue to play tricks, I will chop you into pieces." The black light above the Supreme Demonic Book flashed, and the huge, "Scram" character turned into several small black characters and rushed towards Yun Chujiu's forehead. Yun Chujiu was stunned to find that nothing appeared in her spiritual sense. Where were those characters? Could it be that she couldn't feel anything because she was a fake? Or could it be that this damned blackmailer demonic book didn't teach her anything at all and did it on purpose? Seeing that the Supreme Demonic Book had returned to normal, this guy could only stand up and pretend to be happy as he exited the enchantment. The Great Elder asked with a complicated expression, "Which aspect did you receive the instruction on?" Yun Chujiu blinked her eyes. "It's about the escape skill. I guess the demonic book only gave me the word scram because it gave me the escape skill." The three Great Elders were completely dumbfounded. What was that? It gave him the escape skill. The Supreme Demonic Book actually taught such a skill. But even if they didn't believe it, there was nothing they could do. After all, they had just seen the Supreme Demonic Book teaching Yun Chujiu the cultivation technique. Moreover, this could also explain why the word scram appeared before. After all, if the Supreme Demonic Book really told her to scram, then it wouldn't teach her the cultivation technique later on. However, what was the use of this escape skill? Could it be that when the Tian family fought with someone in the future, the others would be full of fighting spirit and charge into the battle, and this person would directly escape? Yun Chujiu saw that the faces of the three people were filled with words that were difficult to explain, so she immediately straightened her back and said, "The so-called thunder and rain are all the grace of the monarch. Since the supreme demonic book has taught me the escape skill, it probably has a purpose. Perhaps it will be useful in the future." The great elder and the other two thought about it and agreed. The things taught by the supreme demonic book would definitely be useful. Since things had already come to this point, they could only do so. The three of them closed the barrier and said to Tian Rulu and the other two, "From tomorrow onwards, all of you will come over to cultivate at midnight every day. Once you finish your cultivation at midnight, you will have a day of rest every 10 days. Yun Chuji's heart instantly turned cold. She had to get up early every day and go to the dark to cultivate here. Then, did she still have her own time? The great elder continued, "You are now the pillars of the Tian family. Your treatment will naturally improve and will provide you with the best cultivation resources. However, if any of you slack off, you will be severely punished." Chapter 6148. What was that thing outside? Chapter 6148. Hei Xinjiu was so regretful that her intestines were turning green. If she could turn back time, she definitely wouldn't have participated in the selection. But now, not only did she have to come over every day to cultivate, she also had to be on guard against the lies of the spiritual and demonic cultivators being exposed. It was truly tragic. For the next few days, Tian Rulu and the other two meditated every day to cultivate and attack the mannequin. Hei Xinjiu, on the other hand, kept circling around the mannequin, gloriously calling it training her body movement technique. This fellow didn't want to do this, but what else could she do? She could only come up with such a stupid idea to temporarily deal with it, in case the great elder and the others asked her to use her devil chi again. On this day, after the cultivation ended, Yun Chujiu and the other three left the underground cultivation room. "Sister Jiu, is the devil chi in your body still chaotic? It can't be that you haven't cultivated any devil chi at all, right?" Tian Rulu said with a slightly provocative tone. Yun Chujiu looked at her as if she was a fool. She ignored her and walked away. Tian Rulu sneered in her heart. She didn't believe that this trash Tian Ruhua was really a spiritual and demonic cultivator. If she could fool her for a while, she wouldn't be able to fool her for the rest of her life. She wanted to see how long this trash could keep it a secret. Yun Chujiu returned to her residence. After dinner, she laid on the bed and straightened her body. When would such days end? Not to mention finding clues about Shui Wuji and Di Baiming, she would expose herself sooner or later. Even if she didn't expose herself, her cultivation base wouldn't make any progress. The great elder and the others would give up on grooming her. They might even punish her later. Yun Chujiu looked at the lightning strike stone in her storage ring. Even if she used it to cultivate, her cultivation base would be limited. What should she do? Sha Mo, which part of the demon continent has more lightning? Sha Mo said with his head drooping, "You want to absorb the power of lightning, right? I advise you to give up. Ever since His Majesty the Demon Emperor saved us, the demon race has been living a good life. There has never been any heavenly lightning." "Do you mean that there was heavenly lightning on the demon continent before? What do you mean by the Demon Emperor saving you? Isn't it just to quell the internal strife of your 6 races? What do you think His Majesty the Demon Emperor relied on to make the 6 great demon races bow down to him? Naturally, it was him who made a great contribution. Originally, our demon race was not like this at all. Not only did we not have the sun, moon, and stars, but the weather was also terrible. It was a dark world. Not only that, heavenly thunder would strike down from time to time. It could be said that the people did not have a good life. Therefore, we wanted to seize the human continent from time to time. We had no other choice. It was not until the Demon Emperor appeared out of nowhere and broke the barrier above our demon continent that we could see the light of day again and live a happy life. Therefore, if I knew that the Demon Emperor was fake, I would have to kill him. I would skin him and pull out his tendons. Yun Chujo automatically filtered out Sha Mo's nonsense. She was puzzled. There was a barrier on the demon continent? A barrier covering the entire continent? Wasn't this too unbelievable? Who had such a great ability to create a barrier covering the entire continent? However, she didn't have time to think about this. The key point was that there was no heavenly thunder on the demon continent. How could she cultivate in the future? At this moment, a silver lightning bolt cut through the night sky, causing the dim room to light up for a short while. Yun Chujo, Sha Mo, explain to me what is that thing outside? Sha Mo. Chapter 61-49 The thunderstorm was very dangerous. Sha Mo swallowed his saliva and said dryly, "You've seen wrongly. Then I reckon that it must be someone who activated the devil talisman. It can't be lightning." Boom. 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 A few more thunderclaps sounded in succession. Sha Mo, he felt that his face was a little swollen. He must have drunk too much water during the day. Yes, that was it. Yun Chujo snorted coldly and walked to the door. There were already dense raindrops falling from the outside. Although she wanted to absorb the power of the lightning, it was only ordinary silver lightning. Moreover, it was very rare and far away, so she could only enjoy it. Ching Mama, who lived in a side room, heard the sound of Yun Chujo opening the door and quickly stuck her head out. "Ninth Miss, the thunderstorm is very dangerous. Go back to the house quickly. It will be bad if you are struck by lightning." Yun Chujo felt that Sha Mo was not reliable at all, so she waved at Ching Mama, indicating for her to come to her house. Ching Mama ran over eagerly. After being taught a lesson by Hei Xinjiu a few times, she had lost all her temper. "Miss Jiu, it's getting late, why aren't you resting? What can I do for you?" Ching Mama asked politely. "Nothing much, just a casual chat." "You just said that the thunderstorm was very dangerous, why did you say that?" Yun Chujo asked curiously. Ching Mama thought, how come Miss Jiu doesn't know such common sense? However, on second thought, it was quite normal that Miss Jiu's parents had died when she was young and no one taught her. Therefore, she said, "The silver lightning is not very dangerous, but purple heavenly lightning will occasionally strike you. If you are struck by it, you will be either injured or killed. Therefore, Miss Jiu, don't go out in the rainy days." Hei Xinjia's eyes flickered. "Purple heavenly lightning will occasionally strike you? Are you not lying to me?" "Miss Jiu, I wouldn't dare to lie to you even if I had 100 guts. Just a month ago, my sister-in-law's cousin-in-law's cousin's daughter-in-law's neighbor's nephew was struck by the purple heavenly lightning and turned into ashes." Yun Chujia's face was full of horror and curiosity. "Doesn't he know how to dodge? Does he just let the heavenly lightning strike him?" "My lady, the purple heavenly lightning can turn around, and sometimes there are a few heavenly lightning bolts in a row. Unless it's someone with a high cultivation level, how can he dodge it?" Sigh, I heard that 10,000 years ago before the great devil emperor went missing, there was no heavenly lightning at all in our demon continent. However, after the great devil emperor went missing, the heavenly lightning bolts became more frequent. Even after His Majesty the great demon emperor reincarnated and returned to the demon continent, the heavenly thunder still continued unabated. In my opinion, if this continues, sooner or later, the demon continent will return to the days of darkness and suffering frequent lightning strikes. Yun Chujo immediately got a lot of information from Ching Mama's words. The so-called Great Demon Emperor should be the Demon Emperor that Sha Mo mentioned. The current Demon Emperor was the reincarnation of the Great Demon Emperor? Didn't that mean that he came from the human continent? Yun Chujia's face was full of curiosity, and she even revealed a hint of worship. "Mama, I didn't expect you to know so much. I grew up." "Sigh, tell me more about these things." As she spoke, she took out some pastries from her storage ring. "Ching Mama, come, sit down and eat while we talk." Ching Mama was flattered and sat down in fear and trepidation. Yun Chujo poured tea, passed pastries, and flattered her. Qing Mama's mouth became more and more open. Chapter 6150 was definitely fake. I'm not trying to scare you. Other than the frequent lightning strikes, the dark night is getting longer and longer, and the cloudy days are getting longer and longer. I think sooner or later, we will return to the bitter days of the past, said Qing Mama with a sigh. Isn't there still His Majesty the Devil Emperor? He could save us back then, and he will definitely be able to save us in the future, said Yun Chuzhou confidently. Qing Mama looked around and said in a low voice, it's not that the old woman's words are unpleasant. Although our current Devil Emperor's cultivation level is high, he has no way to deal with matters like heavenly thunder and weather. He probably lost a lot of his abilities after reincarnating. Yun Chuzhou saw that Qing Mama's chatterbox was about to be shut up, so she probed, Qing Mama, to be disrespectful, how can we be sure that His Majesty is the reincarnation of the great demon emperor? I heard that his body shape and mask are exactly the same as the legendary great demon emperor, especially the red mole between his eyebrows. You can be sure that he is the reincarnation of the great demon emperor just by relying on these? Isn't that too hasty? Yun Chuzhou said in disbelief. Qing Mama smiled and said, of course, there's more. If he isn't the reincarnation of the great demon emperor, how could he find the entrance to the demon continent? The most important thing is that his blood can open the great demon emperor's bedroom. When the great demon emperor left, he specially set up a formation in the bedroom. Only his blood can open it. Also, his cultivation is higher than the heads of the 6 great clans. Only the reincarnation of the great demon emperor has such a talent. Following that, Yun Chuzhou learned from Qing Mama that the current devil emperor had just returned to the devil continent 1,000 years ago. After a round of verification, he was finally recognized by the 6 great clans. Although at the beginning, everyone still had some doubts about him, but as time passed, the power of the Devil Emperor grew stronger and stronger. The 6 great clans also recognized the fact that he was the reincarnation of the Devil Emperor. Yun Chuzhi's demonic aura inside the spiritual beast bag cursed loudly, fake. It must be fake. The mask we saw before was the Demon Emperor's mask, his mask must be fake. These idiots, they were actually deceived by a fake, what a bunch of trash. Bring me to the palace immediately, I want to expose the real face of that fake. I want to skin him, pull out his tendons, and drink his blood. Yun Chuzhou ignored Sha Mo and continued to chat with Qing Mama. Mama, you said that heavenly lightning is becoming more frequent. Where is the most frequent? Our imperial city is still better. There are other small cities outside the city where the heavenly lightning is more frequent. I heard that the northern continent's heavenly lightning is more frequent when it is occupied by demon beasts. It is precisely because of this that the demon beasts have become more and more restless recently. Sigh, I heard that when the great demon emperor was around, those demon beasts were extremely obedient and did not interfere with our demon race. But now, from time to time, they would sneak attack the border cities. After 10 years or so, a great war would break out. As a result, many people died. Qing Mama sighed and said. Yun Chuzhou was very surprised when she heard that. More than half of the demon continent was occupied by demon beasts. And there would be wars from time to time. Sha Mo, who was in the spiritual beast bag, snorted, isn't it because these useless people are useless? Back then, when His Majesty the Demon Emperor was here, those demon beasts didn't dare to fart. If it weren't for His Majesty the Demon Emperor's kindness, they would have become slaves of our demon race. Chapter 6151 Dilemma. Yun Chuzhou chatted with Qing Mama for a while more before she was rewarded with some magic crystals to send her away. Sha Mo said impatiently, hurry up and think of a way to bring me into the palace. I want to expose the real face of that fake. Yun Chuzhou sneered, even if you can't expose his real face, so what? Can you beat him? Or can you command the 6 great clans? Sha Mo's face immediately turned red as he roared, although I cannot defeat him, but the people of the 6 great clans know that he is fake, they will definitely gang up and attack him. You are too naive. So many years have passed, and the demon emperor has already grasped a powerful power. Even if the 6 great clans had doubts, they would still pretend to be deaf and mute. After all, who became the demon emperor did not have much influence on them, so why would they make unnecessary sacrifices? Moreover, with the presence of this fake demon emperor, the 6 great clans could maintain a delicate balance. No one was willing to break this balance. Also, it was cold when people left. The first batch of old demons were already gone. How could these people now really be loyal to the original great demon emperor? Yun Chujiu said with slight mockery. Human nature was cold and thin. There were very few people like Sha Mo. Although Sha Mo was not convinced, he had to admit that what Yun Chujiu said made sense. Putting everything else aside, the Sha family did not even recognize him as their ancestor. How could they fight against the current demon emperor because of the unreachable great demon emperor? Right, isn't your demon race indestructible? Then what about the old demons from before? Yun Chujiu asked curiously. Our demon race's so-called indestructible means that we can be reincarnated on other continents, and under certain conditions, we might awaken the memories of the demon race. If the demon race's continent is similar to the reincarnation of humans, the past would be forgotten, and the past would all be forgotten. Yun Chujiu, the demon race is truly a magical species. Sha Mo anxiously circled in the spirit beast pouch. This won't do, that won't do either. Don't tell me I can just watch that fake demon emperor strut around? If that's the case, how can I face His Majesty the demon emperor? Yun Chujiu was also frowning. Now, she was in a difficult situation. The supreme demonic scripture had never taught her any cultivation technique. Moreover, even if it was taught, she wouldn't be able to cultivate demonic chi. Although there were occasional thunderbolts falling from the sky in the imperial city, according to Qing Mama, they weren't very dense and couldn't solve her cultivation problem at all. Also, Buttface and the others were spiritual beasts that cultivated SPI. The spiritual power in the demon race continent was thin, and now they relied on the spiritual stones Yun Chujiu threw into the spiritual beast bag to maintain their cultivation. Fortunately, she was so poor that she only had spiritual stones left. Otherwise, she could only let these dumb beasts hibernate. Even foodies like De Hua could eat the food of the demon race, but they could not increase their cultivation. In short, they ate for free. Of course, there was only one exception, and that was the Goei Batsao. This fellow felt that the pills of the demon race were too delicious. The pills that the Tian family had given to Yun Chujiu had all entered its stomach. The originally dark leaves had become much brighter recently. It was simply wonderful. The more Yun Chujiu thought about it, the more she felt a headache. It would be great if she could cultivate the demon chi. Many problems could be solved easily. It was just a pity that until now, she still could not sense the demon element. She gritted her teeth and began to meditate cross-legged. Although she might not succeed if she persisted, she would definitely not succeed if she did not persist. A moment later, she opened her eyes. Her eyes were wide open. Sha Mo, what color is the devil element? Chapter 6152. A string of demonic elements. Sha Mo's expression brightened. The demonic elements are black. Could it be that you sensed it? What? Why is the demonic element I sense purple? Yun Chujiu's expression fell when she said this. She was also dumbfounded. Wasn't this purple element the thunder element that she was very familiar with? So it was just a false joy. Sha Mo also curled his lips. Little girl, I think you are becoming more and more stupid. Of course, the purple element is the thunder element. You have a heavenly thunder spirit root to begin with. What's so strange about sensing the thunder element? Yun Chujiu was a little depressed, but on second thought, it was not bad to be able to absorb some thunder element. Anyway, she had nothing to do. Therefore, she continued to sit cross-legged and began to absorb the purple thunder element. A purple lightning element was absorbed into Yun Chujiu's meridians. Then, she used her spiritual sense to sense that a series of small black light spots were surging over from all directions. Then, the purple light spot surged into Yunchuji's meridians. Yunchujio was stunned and absorbed another small purple light spot. Then, a series of small black light spots surged into her meridians. She tried several times in succession, but it was the same. In the blink of an eye, a wisp of faint black gas formed in her body and surged into her dantian. Then, well, there was nothing else. That wisp of black gas was completely divided up by Gowei Batsao, Black Bead, and the Great Void Sect. There was nothing left for He Xinjiu. Yunchuji's mind was blank. She immediately cut off the spiritual connection with Sha Mo and handed over control of her body to Gowei Batsao. Gowei Batsao, what's going on? What's that wisp of black gas? Yunchujio asked impatiently. Gowei Batsao waved its arms a few times and stretched its back. Then it said proudly, now you know that I'm useful, right? Don't scold me a few times in the future. I'm not bragging. If I wasn't still a baby, I promised to take you to show off and take you to the peak of your life. Yunchujio was so angry that she was twitching. She didn't know where this Gowei Batsao learned it from, but it was getting more and more arrogant. Just when she was about to scold Gowei Batsao finally got to the point. According to common sense, no one can cultivate both spirit and devil at the same time, but you have the heavenly thunder spirit root, so you are naturally different. The heavenly thunder exists not only in the human continent, but also in the demon continent, so it can be your carrier to cultivate devil chi. You mean that I can naturally absorb demonic chi by absorbing the lightning element in the air? Yunchujio asked in surprise. That's about it. Moreover, the cultivation speed is much faster than simply cultivating demonic chi. If you are lucky enough to be struck by heavenly lightning a few times, your spiritual power cultivation and demonic chi cultivation will increase at the same time, Go Weiba said with some pride. It really had good taste. The host it chose was really too outstanding. Yunchujio was both happy and thought of a question. Since you knew, why didn't you tell me earlier? It caused me to waste so much time. Gowei Batsao said righteously, there was no lightning before, and the free lightning elements in the air were very few. Are you blaming me for not absorbing it? Yunchujio, she had sensed the lightning element in the air a few times before, but she did not take it seriously, so she did not absorb it. However, why did she feel that Gowei Batsao deliberately did not tell her? Chapter 1949, Space Conference, 1, Boom. 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 In the dream world, 11 was still pulling the head of the god of destruction, using its body to smash star after star and constantly pressing it to the planet to rub. If the god of destruction didn't want to be beaten up, sure you would satisfy it. Even if it was 11, it was more than enough to heavily injure the god of destruction who had yet to recover. Ugh. In the dream universe, no matter how strong the Black Panther's god of destruction was, it couldn't withstand 11, who was using the reverse Pangu evolution method. However, the closer it was to a desperate situation, the crazier this guy became. He counterattacked even more crazily, even if it was only one-sided. I am the god of destruction. It roared angrily. To Shiryu and the others' surprise, blood tears even flowed out of the corners of the god of destruction's eyes. It seemed to be venting its dissatisfaction and anger. No matter what your reasons are. Shiryu and the others looked at the Black Panther's god of destruction with burning gazes. That made sense. No matter who it was, how could they have an anti-cosmic personality? The god of destruction probably had its own reasons. But no matter what the reason was, since it threatened the safety of him and his companions, they could only completely eliminate the other party. Roar! The god of destruction attacked again. Shiryu held the spiritual sword in his hand, and the dream universe began the second round of violent turmoil. The starlight dimmed, and a drop of liquid condensed in the nebula. The universe seemed to be whimpering. Ever since Shiryu and the god of destruction started the battle, the scene of the universe seemed to have become much more desolate. After an unknown period of time. The dream universe shattered. Shiryu and the others were in the real universe again. When they saw Shiryu come out, Shiyu, who had been lingering here, immediately teleported over in surprise. She saw that Shiryu and the pets beside him were basically not injured. Moreover, there was no sign of the god of destruction. Shiyu said happily, "Dad, where's the god of destruction? Could it be, he's dead?" Shiryu looked at the long sword in his hand and said, "I killed him." "Great, you're too strong." Shiyu looked over in surprise. She simply worshipped her father from this parallel universe too much. Although her wish was to surpass Shiryu, Shiryu had helped this universe solve such a huge disaster. She still hugged Shiryu happily. Hey, hey, hey. Shiryu pushed his cosmic-level daughter away and smiled bitterly. Don't be happy too early. Although the other party is dead, the trouble hasn't been resolved. Huh? Don't tell me it can still be revived, Shiyu said in confusion. No, Shiryu's heart was extremely heavy. He was indeed prepared for it to revive infinitely, but... Shiryu fell into deep thought and recalled his final confrontation with the god of destruction. Swoosh! The body of the god of destruction was divided into two by the spiritual sword in Shiryu's hand. At this moment, even its soul was quickly shattered by Qi Tong and obliterated into soul nutrients. Boom! The body of the god of destruction exploded, but before it died, its face was filled with mockery. It'll die, but this universe will also be destroyed. After that, Qi Tong began to spirit release the other party's soul and extract the other party's memories. Shiryu looked at his daughter and said, "Do you know the true identity of the god of destruction?" What? Isn't he a cosmic-level expert from the first era? Not only that. Shiryu smiled bitterly. He didn't expect this god of destruction to be so troublesome. Actually, the universe isn't as simple as the 11th era, Shiryu said. It's the pet of the previous holder of the universe. According to the soul memory scene transmitted by Qi Tong, Shiryu saw a small black panther snuggling beside a majestic body. Shiyu? In a certain era, a human successfully contracted the universe and became the holder of the universe, the will of the universe. However, just because you become the holder of the universe doesn't mean that you can really be eternal. As the true cosmic will that has been suppressed, you won't be willing to be contracted by others forever. Even if the contract succeeds, the holder of the universe still has to constantly guard against the backlash of the universe. The previous holder of the universe broke free of the contract and died by the universe countless years after becoming the holder of the universe. That's already a story from before the first era. And the powerful power on the god of destruction was also given to it by its master. Now you know why the power on its body is so special, right? It can cross so many eras probably because of the maintenance master. What? Shiyu was shocked. No wonder the god of destruction hated the will of the universe so much and hoped to destroy the universe. So it was to avenge its master. Then what do you mean the matter isn't over? Shiryu sighed slightly and said, although the other party died, its resentment turned into a curse and fused into the universe. It used its own death as the price to curse something and let its life flow away with it. Fine. Seeing Shiyu's worried expression, Shiryu said, its cursed target is this universe. Oh. Shiyu had been shocked for a long time. When she heard Shiryu's words, she cried again and sensed the state of the universe. If nothing goes wrong, your parallel universe won't be able to live for long. Moreover, even if the universe wants to restart, it probably won't go smoothly. We need to guard against the resentment of the dead god of destruction. I didn't expect it to do this time. Shiryu was silent. From the start, the cosmic god of destruction didn't want to live. It wanted to perish with the universe. Chapter 61-54, Did he learn from her? Sha Mo rubbed his eyes, but he still could not sense any demonic chi from Yun Chujia's body, nor could he tell that she had demonic chi cultivation. Could it be that he was hallucinating just now? Just as he was thinking, Yun Chujio slapped him again. The wisps of black chi were so bright that Sha Mo's old eyes were blinded. Moreover, he did not know if his eyes were playing tricks on him, but he felt that the wisps of black chi seemed to be mixed with a faint purple color. You. How did you do it? Sha Mo stuttered and asked. I had no choice. A genius is a genius. I just casually cultivated and it became like this. It's not that I'm bragging, but if I didn't just come to the demon continent, I would definitely be one of the best in the demon continent. After saying this, Yun Chujia's face stiffened. Why did she feel that these few sentences were similar to what Goei Batsao said last night? Could it be that Goei Batsao was so shameless and learned it from her? Sha Mo naturally did not know what Yun Chujio was thinking and was overjoyed. Now that you can cultivate demonic chi, hurry up and cultivate the cultivation techniques that the supreme demonic scripture taught you. Yun Chujio kicked Sha Mo, are you stupid? Not to mention that the damn demonic scripture did not teach me anything, even if it was really taught to me, would I dare to learn it? Sha Mo then remembered what the great elder said. If the Tian family didn't cultivate the supreme demonic book, they would die from vomiting blood. It didn't feel good to return empty-handed after entering the treasure mountain. It's okay. Although you can't cultivate the supreme demonic book, you can cultivate the cultivation method of our Sha family. With your talent and my careful teaching, you will soon rise to the top. At that time, with your evil schemes, we will definitely be able to expose that fake's true face and then return to the human continent to find the real demon emperor. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and put Sha Mo into her spirit beast pouch. The more this old fool talked, the more excited he became and the louder he spoke. If they were discovered by Qing Mama, it wouldn't be good. Yun Chujio rubbed her chin and pondered. She had to find an opportunity to go shopping. Firstly, she had to get some information. Secondly, she had to buy some magic tools for self-defense. In particular, she had to buy a magic tool that could adjust her devil chi cultivation. In the future, it could be used to cover her rapid increase in cultivation. After a day of rest, Yun Chujio decided to go out for a walk. Although most young ladies were willing to bring their maids when they went out, Yun Chujio liked Qing Mama's, tell me everything you know, so she brought Qing Mama out. As soon as Yun Chujio left the Tian estate, she felt the gazes from all directions. Those gazes were rather complicated, and there was nothing she could do about it. The main reason was that Tian Ruhua was originally a well-known good-for-nothing, and she had previously become a jinx. However, in the blink of an eye, she had become a genius favored by Kyle Wan. Recently, she had actually obtained the qualifications to cultivate the other 8 volumes of the Supreme Demonic Code. It was simply too unbelievable. Yun Chujio did not care about these gazes. She had seen many things that were bigger than this, and these gazes were just a piece of cake for her. Qing Mama and the second prince followed behind Yun Chujio with pride and said in an attentive manner, "Ninth Miss, where should we go first? Should we go to the colorful clothes pavilion? Or the pastry shop?" Yun Chujio originally wanted to say that she would go to the shop that sold demonic tools, but she thought that Tian Rulu and the second prince would inevitably send people to keep an eye on her. In order to numb them, it would be good to go to the colorful clothes pavilion first. Thus, she brought Qing Mama to the Tsai Pavilion. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.